Are you an emotional or stress eater? Do you struggle with emotional eating? Does it really frustrate you? Does it stress you out? In this video, I am going to give you 5 questions about emotional eating so you can determine if that is getting in the way of you reaching your goals after weight loss surgery. All right. Hey there, my name is Diana Lopez. I am your bariatric dietitian at My Bariatric Adventure, the place where we guide you as you navigate the twists and turns of your bariatric adventure. Hey there, so we are going to talk about the shameful, humiliating, embarrassing topic of emotional eating. I've got 5 questions for you to ask yourself. And then after we get through those, hang out because I have got a couple strategies that I implemented that really helped me conquer emotional eating. All right, and then after that, I've got a freebie for you as well. So hang out and we'll get to those at the end. All right, so let's dive in and let's talk about those 5 questions that you can ask yourself. All right, so first question is, are you a stress eater? Are you an emotional eater? Are you a binge eater? So how do you know how to answer this question? Sometimes those things are not clear-cut things. For me, binge eating wasn't something that I did all the time. It was when stressful things would happen. It would be when my emotions would run high. So what that is you're just eating a large quantity of food at one given time or multiple times throughout the day to help calm down or quell the emotions that you're feeling. So maybe, or stress. So maybe it is something stressful happened at work. Maybe it is that, like me, you feel angry, you don't know what to do with that emotion, or maybe you're feeling overwhelmed or anxious or depressed. So if you're eating to cope with those emotions, to control them, to numb out from them, that would be my first question. If you can check yes to that, then we're on the road to determining whether or not you're an emotional eater. My next question for you is, what or who causes you to look to food to help you feel better? All right, so what or who? I can give you an example from my own life. Many years ago, I was working a full-time job before I started doing my nutrition coaching full-time, and I worked in a place where my supervisor that I worked for was always asking extra above and beyond what was normal for me to do. So sometimes that would happen early in the morning, and I would feel a lot of resentment and frustration and anger about that. I just never knew how to address it. So those things would percolate in the morning, and they would, all day long, those things would percolate. And then by the time I got home in the evening, I was feeling pretty terrible. I was anxious, I was feeling depressed and sad, I was feeling hopeless. And so I wasn't connecting that thing in the morning, that confrontation, that conversation with my boss in the morning, how it was affecting me all day long. Because I could hold it in all day long and get home, and that's when I really started eating. So then I would get all, for me it was sweet. So I'd get out a lot of different sweets or salty or whatever, and I would just start eating until I would feel numb. Other things I've noticed for me, the tone of voice that someone uses. If they talk to me in a condescending tone of voice, then that can set me off. Or if I was feeling really angry and I didn't know what to do with that, those things would be triggers that would move me in that direction. Or if maybe there are people in your life that you feel are taking advantage of you, you don't know how to address that. That was something that I had to deal with. And so the next step is just awareness. After you say, yes, I really believe I'm an emotional eater, the next step is, what or who is causing you to be an emotional eater? And it's, I'm not saying anything bad about that person or that emotion. I'm just saying we're building awareness around what is causing you to go to food to make yourself feel better. So question 3 I have for you is, what feelings or emotions are going on when your what or who is around? Because like I said, sometimes things would happen early in the day and I wasn't able to connect it with my eating later in the day. And so when that person is around, what are you feeling? Is your stomach, getting churned up? Are you feeling anger? Are you, what are you feeling in that moment? Are you starting to feel anxious? Are you feeling overwhelmed? Are you feeling profoundly sad? What is happening when I'm around people that maybe there are people in my life that I feel they're taking advantage of me, I start to get really angry about that internally. For many, many years, I wouldn't say I was angry. I would just say the nice person's way of saying, well, I'm really frustrated. Frustration is just a nice way to say I'm angry. And so I learned that when I was saying I was frustrated a lot, that really there was something churning in me that needed to be addressed. And so if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling angry, if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling some sort of emotion that you would feel is negative when you're around a particular, or maybe you feel like a sense of dread, like something bad is going to happen. So I would say start looking at that and uncovering what is it that you're feeling. Question 4 is, what are you feeling physically? So when you're what or who is around, what are you feeling inside your body? So for me, if I have a feeling of dread, it's kind of like a sinking feeling in my stomach. It might be a tightness in my chest. I might feel tension in my neck or around my eyes, my forehead. For me also, when I start to get angry, I start to have a flush that develops up my chest, or even when I get embarrassed, or humiliated, or I feel shame or guilt. Sometimes it'll develop a redness in my chest that will, go up my face. And so I know I can feel that heat that's coming on. Those are the physical things I can feel. So again, I'm asking you these things so that you can begin to identify when are you feeling it. Or maybe you have a tense home situation and you're at work, you're fine all day at work, and then you're driving home and you start to feel that sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach, or you start to feel that sense of dread. So and for me, those are usually indicators that there's something going on that I need to address. There's something I need to deal with. So we want to start building your awareness around seeing those things so that you can begin to take some action to calm and quell your emotions, to figure out what you're really feeling. All right. And so my last question for you, question number 5, is, what does emotional eating do for you? That was something I had to ask myself, because when I stopped emotionally eating, I could tell pretty quickly, because I started getting anxious and I started getting hot-tempered, angered within just a matter of a couple seconds. And so what eating did for me, what emotional eating did, is it helped me to numb out. It helped slow down the thoughts that were going on in my head. It helped me to just not feel. And so I could be disconnected from the things that were going on in my mind. And when I was overeating, a couple things would happen. I would get super numb. My thoughts would slow down. My belly would start hurting. And so I'd be focused on feeling, why did I do this? Beating myself up and feeling guilty about what I was feeling in my stomach. And then the last thing that would happen is make me really tired, and I'd just go lay down and take a super long nap, or I'd go to bed early because I just didn't want to deal with life. And so those were some of the things that emotional eating was doing for me. All right. So those are 5 questions I would have you ask yourself about emotional eating. And I would encourage you to get out a journal and maybe rewind this video and re-listen to those questions again, and figure out where, if you're an emotional eater, stress eater, binge eater, what's happening with you, and start to unwind those pieces. Now that I've given you 5 questions to ponder, I want to give you the 2 strategies that really, really helped me conquer emotional eating. One was journaling. I would sit down here in this, if I turn the camera around, you see in this room, there's a little couch in here. And so this is my quiet place. So I would come in here, I'd go on my back patio, sit out there and listen to the birds and watch the butterflies and all of that. And I would get my journal and I would just start writing. And so that was a big part of my healing process, because I would start writing, this is what happened today. And then next thing you know, it's like verbal diarrhea. All these things are coming out that were stuffed way down because emotional eating, I just pushed it down and stuffed it down instead of dealing with things. And so there were things that had happened years ago, things that were on my mind that I had stuffed down for so long. And so my number 1 strategy I would encourage you to do is to journal, and then sit and ponder what you've written. So sit there in the moments, even when it feels hard and uncomfortable, because you will find a lot of victory in that. because you'll be able to understand, maybe not everything, but it will begin to give you a good handle on what is happening within your mind, within your heart, within your body. And then my second strategy that was so super helpful for me was that I made a list of things I could do besides eat. And so I have a list of probably 10 to 15 things. 5 of them are things that if I'm sitting here at my desk and I cannot move, that I can do while I'm sitting here. It might be meditating, it might be praying. Somebody gave me like a little stress ball. It's like shaped like a little guy, and so I can have that in here on my desk and kind of squeeze that. I can play 5 minutes of a video game on my phone that requires concentration, because things that require concentration really derail that thinking that leads us down that road to emotional eating. So if you are doing something that requires more concentration, you might find that you forget about the things that are really getting in the way of your progress and really causing you to stumble down that road of emotional eating. So for me, like I said, it would be praying, it would be meditating, using that little stress ball. Maybe you could get silly putty or a slinky that you keep on your desk. Some people have a mini adult coloring books that they keep on their desk, or they'll doodle while they're sitting there. So I've got a list of 5 or 6 different things I can do while I'm sitting here. And then I have a list of probably 10 things I can do when I'm not sitting here. Things that bring me joy and can help short circuit that thinking. So I love doing creative things. I love painting. So I might paint something. I love restoring furniture. I might have a project like that. I might go sit on my back patio and just look in my garden, watch the bees and the butterflies flying around. I might go for a walk. I have a patient that what she would do is she loved a bubble bath with candles around it. So she would get a hot bath going, lots of bubbles, candles around it, relaxing music, whatever it is that works for you. Maybe you listen to a podcast. Maybe there's a certain kind of music you like that relaxes you. Maybe it's talking to a friend. I don't know. For me, like I said, I've got a list of about 15 different things I can do. And so sometimes I have to go through that whole list once or twice before I can get to that thing that really works. So especially in the beginning, that was happening. And for me, sometimes I realized like I just had to be vulnerable, and I had to text my accountability partner and say, hey, I'm really struggling. Can we talk? Can you pray for me? How would you encourage me? Give me some advice. What's your wisdom on this? And so sometimes it was reaching out. Sometimes I could just do some other things that would help with that. So I would encourage you to write a list of other things you can do besides eat when those emotions arise, that you start working through those. All right, so we've given you 5 questions to ask yourself. I've given you the 2 strategies that were really so helpful to my healing and recovery, and I want to give a freebie to you as well. So if you get in our description, there is a link for you, a little packet of some different worksheets that we have inside the My Bariatric Adventure course and community, that in our section where we go over emotional eating, these are some of the things that we go over in there. So I bundled them together for you as a freebie. So make sure you go down the description and you grab those. All right. Thank you so much for hanging in and talking about this tough topic of emotional eating. I just encourage you not to do this alone. You need help and encouragement and support from others to really have victory in this area. And we're here for you. All right, you take care, and I'll see you again soon.